So, very good morning, students. So, look at the picture we are having. Again, it's about the segment where examples are very important, right? Do you remember I was telling you that this is an example based segment? You remember that point? So, with examples, they are going to ask you, you have to be very careful. Read the case example properly. Okay? So, basically, I want you all to register this point very clearly that it is an example based segment. Reading the case example is one important exercise which you have to get familiar with. Am I clear? So, as I was telling you, the concept of the demand in economics is one repeated question. Types of demand, which we saw as price, income, and cross, it is a graph based question. All the three types, you must be familiar with the graph. No sooner the graph is given, looking at the x and y axis, looking at the slope, whether it is downward sloping or upward sloping, you must be able to relate it to the type of demand. Okay, so that is very important. And the third important question which we saw is, from this topic you understood that a law in economics will be represented through a schedule or a table, graph, and formulaic expressions. So that is why I was repeatedly putting forward like QD is a function of, you remember that? P, Y, PR, W, to indicate that through formulaic expression also a law in economics is represented. That is another point you have to register in mind. Then coming to the next point, Alfred Marshall's statement of the law, which is very, very important because one among, as you read the definitions also in the class, one among the definition is something where you have to study and know that it is law of demand, because the term demand will not be there apparent in the statement. So unless and until, so this topic itself is like a model topic for you to understand how the questions are coming, and that is why yesterday I made a list. These type of questions are quite possible, right? So remember that any quotation which they give you as a statement of the law, register it very well. There are some students who feel that not being a descriptive paper, they don't study the definitions. Why should we study? But the question would be, who gave this? You are not asked to define. Who gave this, for which you should know what is given, and to identify the law which is given there. So here, this was one tricky segment which most of the students felt. And that is why I want to bring it to your notice very clearly, right? And we also did factors influencing demand. How that will be asked is, 4 will be given, of which 1 will be an odd man out, which will not be a factor relating to demand, which you must be able to identify. Okay, so that is one point you have to be very careful. Do you follow that question which I am trying to say? So what is influencing demand? The set of things which we saw, please register in your mind. Okay. So this one. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So do you understand this? And when it comes to why does the demand curve slope downwards and exceptions, they are always, every time it's asked. So that is why for you to remember this exception only I made this. See, look at it. Yesterday you saw your WhatsApp. This is coming under economics. Today we are going to see this and we will go to this. Okay. Now, what are the 3 reasons or why does a demand curve slope downwards, which you saw yesterday? Niranjan and Aditya should tell. Why does the demand curve slope downwards? Yes. Reason one. What was the reason one? Why does the demand curve slope downwards? Yes. Okay. Law of DMU. Very good, Aditya. And Niranjan? Income effect. Okay. Again, it's your turn, Aditya. Please tell us. Yes, substitution effect. Do you recollect the 3 points? It is there in your notebook. Have you taken down the running notes? Yes, and I told you that as far as these 3 points are there, please note that there is a small twist in the concept itself. It's not that they have to ask you in a twisted manner. If you look at that itself, there is a twist. For example, law of DMU, just like that you can't state DMU. You have to relate it to two important things as sacrifice and satisfaction. Sacrifice is nothing but the price paid by the consumer. Satisfaction is the utility derived. So when the utility derived is coming down with additional units, price which is to be paid will also be coming down or expected to come down by the consumer. So in which case he will buy more when the price is less. So that equation is what is the point you have to remember. Sacrifice must be in fact less than or equal to satisfaction, because demand analysis and DMU are based on rational consumer, right? Upon consumer who's smart enough, who can think. Okay, and in income effect, remember we use the term real income. It is not money income, it is real income. So please be very clear with the real income versus money income. Yes, Ritvik, can I help you? Price effect. What is that? That is what we see under income effect. Impact of price changes on the money in the hands of the consumer. That is what is seen as real income effect. It is not money income. Money income, when I say what is the amount I am having here, the change in the amount in the hand of the consumer brought about by change in price. So look at this. In fact, they'll give you like this and all, like equation. Delta price means what? Change in price, which will affect the money income in the hands of the consumer or the amount available with the consumer. So that is called as real income effect. So actually your price changes are already studied under real income effect. That's why I'm deliberately using the term real income versus money income. I remember once they asked, the difference between real income and money income. So real income includes price changes. You talk about the influence of price on the income available in the hands of the consumer. So be sure this part itself is by nature tricky. Okay, so they don't have to ask any twist. If they ask all the more twisted, then you have to, it's up to your destiny to understand and do it. And in substitution effect, do you remember, my dear students, the two diagrams we saw yesterday, isn't it? So what discusses substitution effect? It is generally substitution effect is price of one commodity, the influence on another commodity. But here because we have to discuss why it is downward sloping in nature, we will argue that because the consumer is having an alternative, a substitute to switch over, he can easily reduce the quantity demanded for the commodity whose price is increasing. That much you have to say. Can you understand? And when they give you reasons, in the form of a statement, it will be a bit difficult for you to understand unless you give. So look at this. So this is what is discussed under substitution effect. So when they show a diagram like this, it means that he is able to switch over to it, and he wants to switch over to it because the price of another commodity which he was consuming is going up. But there is a substitute which enables him to boldly reduce the quantity consumed, as I'm having an alternative product which is going to satisfy my same need. Can you understand? So when you have to know about substitutes and complements, be very clear. And I also have this wait a minute, I also have this for you. So look at the list of substitutes and complements. Butter and margarine. Margarine is like an oil, no? Something, a sticky substance similar to butter. Physical books and e-books satisfy the same thing, right? Eyeglasses and contact lenses. Okay. Pepsi and Coke. Petrol and diesel. So these are taken from the question papers for you to understand that these could be asked in the place of X and Y commodity, right? And look at the complementary segment. Pen and ink, sugar and tea. So remember that they go hand in hand. It's not tea and coffee, it is sugar and tea. Torch and battery, right? Computers and keyboard, car and petrol. So these like repeated questions which we found in the scanner and in the web references and all. Okay, so kindly try to ensure that you study this segment with examples. That is the reason why I am trying to tell you all this point very clearly, right? And in substitution effect, so the downward sloping curve is possible because of the alternative available. So that is the point you have to understand. So downward sloping.
How does petrol and diesel radiation?
Yes, no, you can. It is not complementary. Do you say it is a complementary one? I think they come under the crude oil type or oil type. In that manner, they give you. They are not like, jointly demanded ones. They, instead of that, you can use, not in everything, right? So when you take a substitute, the nature of substitute will vary. Perfect substitutes, imperfect substitutes, the intensity of substitute. So they don't come under complementary goods. So these are the things you have to be very careful in the examination. See, tea and coffee, they'll give as a substitute. Variety of tea is also a substitute. So Taj Mahal versus Three Roses. So something like that. Perfect substitutes, imperfect substitutes. So be under that. That we will do when we are doing indifference curves. Okay. So see whether they are coming as jointly demanded or they satisfy the same need. Go for that. Okay. Perfect and imperfect substitutes. We'll do that discussion. Right. Okay. Now, this is the kind of downward sloping in nature. I have to remember this curve in my mind. So most of them, this part is very, very tricky. So I indicate you as revise, go through it properly, read your Bharadwaj material because we have explained a lot how you can understand. Fourth one is again a very important, every time it's asked because it's a practical example, principle of different uses. Principle of different uses. So my dear students, for principle of different uses only, I had given you this chart. Look at this chart. As you look at this one and this part, okay, and note the next one also. See what is that you find in common in the jug which I showed you, in this refrigerator, washing machine. What is that you feel? Okay, I find some common thread in this. Electricity, fantastic, very good. So they are home appliances, electrically operated, right? You require electricity or current. Now coming to this, to explain principle of different uses, what we are going to take is the example of electricity, and this is called as an economist example. This is fundamentally an economist example. They have explained this as one of the reasons to understand downward sloping demand curve, right? Now what is this? We saw home appliances, where we use current, you require electricity. Let it be your refrigerator, let it be your washing machine, or let it be your oven, induction stove, whatnot and whatnot, geyser, more you have. Now here, look at the case. Let us begin our example. Price, or I will put it as consumption charge, going by the example of electricity, consumption charge per unit has been reduced. So what happened? The charge per unit of power consumption has been brought down. Now, what is the practical scenario at home? When the electric, and do you remember, I don't know whether you were all born or you know, or I do not know, we had first time it was announced that up to certain units, no electricity charge at all, and up to 100 units, and this was given and this was done mainly to benefit poor income categories, where they will literally have no electricity charge to pay, isn't it? First time when it was announced, because electricity charge is one important component of budget, isn't it? Even today, if you ask your parents which is more shocking, electricity bill which they pay, you every time when the bill comes, you feel as though you have underused it as compared to the rate. Yes or no? Why it is that they have charged me, we have to check. Isn't for the rate they give? No, I didn't use this much. This is the first reaction. Same bill you will get, but every month you ask a householder, no, they'll say, no, this much I didn't use at all. Probably is using a heater, or induction stove, or whatever it is, oven and microwave and all these things, right? It consumes. So here, when this was announced, what is the reaction is, poor people or the targeted beneficiaries, they will not have at all, because their minimum requirement would have been, or what they have will be, a light and a fan. But what is the benefit to the common man at large is, most of them, instead of cylinder, getting cylinder and then all this gas cylinder to do cooking, they started relying upon induction stove. Have you noticed that small change which happened, when it was announced for the first time? So here, when it is reduced, yes, oh my God. So consumption unit or chart, it has been reduced. So the immediate result or impact is more number of electrically operated appliances to be used. So this becomes an automatic switchover for the simple reason that per unit charge has come down. So the householder feels that for everything I'll put my switch and I will use it. So if you see, they may be having two television sets at home, one in their bedroom and one in their hall, they will switch it off. So they will not be so much of consciousness, they will not have that consciousness to switch off the lights and fans. Now when you go to the second case, so I underline more. Now in the second case, when the consumption charge, when the power consumption charge, power consumption charge per unit goes up. So when there is an increase, what is the immediate impact? You will find that you get back to your original or old ways or the usual ways, and you are extra conscious that whenever there is a fan running when people are not there, or when unnecessary lights are switched on, or even by you try to switch off your light little early or switch on late evening, all these changes to reduce the consumption of electricity happens. So the uses get restricted. The usage or uses get restricted. That is the impact of the rise in the consumption of electricity price or charge. So this what is that we are saying? Price up. The first case, price down. Okay. Price down, usage expanded. Price rise, usage gets restricted. So there is an expansion of the usage. Usage is more in the former case, and in the latter case the usage is restricted. So this example of electrically operated appliances is what is the premise of the principle of different uses. So from the restriction of uses, when the electricity rate goes up, and liberal usage of home appliances when the price comes down, is a point which is discussed under principle of different uses to substantiate the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, or why does the demand curve slope downwards. Are you clear? So these are the four important general reasons that discuss the economics behind the law of demand. Do you understand the economics behind the law of demand? Right. Now, let us go to the next segment. So what is the next segment? We cannot afford to miss what? The exceptions to the law of demand. So we have to look into the exceptions. So this is a very important segment. This glittering gold and all you are going to study. So what is that? We are going to note now. Okay. Let us first list out what can be. See, we said that law of demand is a fundamental. Fundamental. Price goes up, quantity demanded will come down. Price falls, it will go up. It's a fundamental fact, right? Now here, how can the exceptions be, or how does it operate? So exceptions to the law of demand, please note that this has, for each point, you have an economist who has verified, authenticated. So it is not just that you and me saying that there are exceptions. There is an exception, and for every point we give, either you will have an empirical evidence or you will have the name of the economist. So these are the other aspects which you have to register apart from the reasons given to substantiate that there are exceptions to the law of demand. So when you say exceptions, please have that diagram also ready for exceptions to the law of demand. So once when they asked the question on graph based question on exceptions, students were not able to answer. So please note it. As usual, I am marking the x-axis and y-axis and origin, and I am going to give here quantity demanded. Quantity demanded. In units. Okay, quantity demanded in units, price in rupees. Quantity demanded. Now, here we are going to show price. OP is a price and quantity demanded is ON. Let us take. Now, price goes up. OP1. Quantity demanded will not decline but will go up or rise up in case of exceptions to the law of demand. So please note, even exceptions has a diagram, and what is it? Upward sloping demand curve. So upward sloping demand curve is a graph that portrays exceptions to the law of demand. Upward sloping demand curve. This was a twisted. Usually they will be asking law of demand only graph based question. Once they have asked a graph based question on exceptions to the law of demand. So upward sloping demand curve is a graph that depicts, in this case, no, we are not talking about income demand and all. Please understand, we are not talking about substitution effect, we are not talking about income demand, we are talking about two parameters, quantity demanded and price. So in which case, usually it has to be only downward sloping. Please register that point. If we are not talking about substitution effect where you can have upward sloping, we are not talking about income demand with respect to superior commodities or normal goods where it can be upward sloping. We are talking about law of demand where two variables only are there, where we study the influence of price on quantity demanded. So that time it will always be downward sloping. But here we are showing an upward sloping curve. So we note the point that upward sloping demand curve is a graph that depicts exceptions to the law of demand. Now, one point I want you all to register is, when they ask you a question on exception to the law of demand, please note whether the variable which they are giving is price, and see price of good X. You cannot have different commodity also. Quantity demanded of good X. For your information, it should be implied. In law of demand, we are not taking two different goods. They may not give you this also. Law of demand, it is understood. It is implied that it is one commodity model. Only cross demand is two commodity model. In income demand, you are not going to take price, you take income in the y-axis or as a determinant of quantity demanded. Please note these subtle points very clearly, right? Price demand alone has price of the same commodity and the quantity demanded of the original commodity. In income demand, you are talking about income of the consumer, and in cross demand, two different commodities are studied. It's a two commodity model, right? So in case of exceptions to the law of demand, this point is understood. It may or may not be the graph. So we are going to show in the coming segment which are the cases where even if the price goes up, quantity demanded does not decline. In fact, it can even increase. It will not decline is one, it may even increase. 2 points. Okay. So what is an exception to a law of demand? When the price goes up, quantity demand should decline. That decline will not happen. That decline will not happen. It can be an increase, right? So that is what you're going to see. And let us first list out the cases of exception. Cases of exception. We have seen the graph and we list out the cases of exception. Giffen effect. Giffen effect. Veblen effect. Please note it very clearly. Veblen effect. Speculative effect. Speculative effect. Speculative effect. Scarcity. Scarcity. Inflation. Inflation. Price delusion. Price delusion. Please note the cases very clearly. And these are all having an authentic source. They have an evidence. They are empirically stated. They are put forward. And for each of them, yes, what you have to know is this is examined, experimented by Sir Robert Giffen. We have an evidence. I am telling you, no, this is an authenticated segment. And why an authentication is needed is people will question, no, you say law of demand is fundamental. How could you say there's an exception? There is an evidence. That is why this segment requires evidence. Then here this is Professor Thorstein Veblen. Or you can also note it, he is popularly known as an economist very much because his contribution is substantial. Economist Thorstein Veblen. So these two are the names of the economists and experts who have empirically experimented cases where they were exception to law of demand. Third point, it is we are giving an example of a share market operation, a share market functioning or a share market operation. So when you say that speculative effect is an exception, and when the people ask, common man ask for an evidence, they will cite you the share market operation as a case to get it proved. Scarcity, it is a situation in a country. So at times of scarcity, they will ask you to see or observe or note where there will be exception to the law of demand. Inflation, it is a business cycle phase. It is a phase in business cycle. You have a topic also separately. Business cycle phase, or you can also see it as an economic condition. It is also seen as an economic condition. So when somebody asks, how do you say that inflation is an exception to the law of demand? They will say that you observe when that upward swing comes, you will know. So there is an evidence, there is a proof. Price delusion. Professor Benham's study. Again, here you have an expert who has studied the concept of price delusion, practically has experimented, he has observed and presented his findings, which is used as a case for the exception of law of demand or exceptions to the law of demand. So you have going to study Giffen effect, Veblen effect, speculative effect, scarcity, the economic condition of inflation and price dilution, right? So you can also mark it as an important segment for the examination. See, generally, why does the demand curve slope downwards and this exceptions, no? This two can also come together. It's not only one should come. Two questions also at times they've asked in the examination from this chapter alone. Yes. Have you all taken down this very clearly? So we begin with the first one, Giffen effect. I said it's an experiment, right? So what is the key point? Sir Robert Giffen, he experimented or he has done a number of experiments to substantiate his point that there can be exception to this fundamental law. And one experiment which is very popularly quoted in textbooks and economists have used is, see, Sir Robert Giffen's experiment as early as 19th century in Ireland. This is a very popular one. Of course, after that he has also done a lot of other experiment. Okay, so in Ireland, Sir Robert Giffen conducted this experiment. Okay, now what did he do? His experiment, in his experiment, he used two commodities. I mean, remember, it's not a two commodity model. He used two commodities as such, and those were, say, potatoes and meat. Okay, how many of you like potatoes? How many of you like meat? Good. You like, no? Yes. Okay, so now this experiment primarily the focus of the experiment was on potatoes only. Okay, I am giving you this information also because once they asked in a very tricky way, potatoes only. So what was done? Giffen, Sir Robert Giffen, what did he do? He raised the price of potatoes, and tested the quantity demanded of potatoes. He raised the price of potatoes to test the quantity demanded. To test the quantity demanded when the price went up. Okay. Now we saw in case of principle of different uses that as the electricity charge went up, the usage got restricted. But is it valid here? Is what he tested. So potatoes, its price has gone up, and what is the quantity demanded? Now he chose potatoes. You may ask me, why did he choose potatoes? Please remember, the next valid point is potatoes here come under the category of staple. It is seen as a staple. Staple means what? Main food of the country. Supposing if you take India, we say food grains. South Indians will be rice, North Indians will be wheat. So potatoes were the staple item of Ireland, right? That is one point. Second thing is that which will not have substitutes. See how he has defined it. A good that will not have substitutes. A good that he chose potatoes on these grounds. Please note it, that a good that does not has substitutes. And it is seen as inferior in the sense, it is my usual thing. No, when you say food grains, do you see food grains as a dessert? You take rice daily. No, it's a normal course. You don't call it as a superior one. Yes or no? Isn't it? It's a normal course. So inferior in the sense, it belongs to a normal budget. Usually bread, all this, no. What he suggests is bread, wheat, potatoes, food grains, whatever it is you take, they are all normal. So in that case, it is an inferior item. It is not a delicacy. It is not a dessert type. It is not a superior one. So since he called it as an inferior one, he also wanted to define what is the superior item, and so the mention of meat commodity was there, not wheat, meat was there. That is taken, say, weekly once, high priced commodity. It is considered to be some as a special variety, something like that. Okay, it comes high priced. Remember it. It is like that. Now, Sir Robert Gibbon's experiment was basically to raise the price of potatoes, which was a staple of the land, a staple which had no alternatives, and that was of a normal price, a normal good, a regular course. That is how you have to take a commodity to test Giffen effect, right? Now, when I say staple, for example, what you take daily, there can be no substitute for it. Can you be without rice? Can you be without wheat? It is generally not possible. No, when you say something as a staple, it is not possible. So that is what is considered to be a good without staple. Now, when this is the scenario, let us go to his findings. The findings is, what was the result? As the price went up, as the price of, yes. So look at the findings. Findings from Giffen's experiment. Giffen's experiment. So what is the experiment? Sir Robert Giffen, in his experiment, raised the price of potatoes, which is seen to be a staple, which does not have a substitute, and which is a normal course or a regular intake, and therefore we keep it under the category of an inferior good. Now, please note, my dear students, this inferior good, Giffen's inferior good, is not same as the inferior good which you saw under income demand. Note that point. That is one repeated question. From the examination point of view, I am giving you this point. Okay. So, Giffen inferior good is not same as the inferior good. The inferior good studied under income effect. Please note this point for unexpected or twisted question. As I am giving you direct questions, I am also telling you the indirect questions. How they are choosing tricky questions. Yes, I will explain to you also. Now in Giffen, what is the experiment he did? He took a commodity, that is potatoes. That is called as inferior. Why inferior? Because regularly I am taking. Say I will not take the rice. If I bring rice, no, I'm not going to take it as superior. But if I bring a payasam, if I bring a dessert, if I bring a fruit salad, it's a superior one, right? So what is the item he is taking? That country. In Ireland, potatoes was a staple food. A staple is not having a substitute. It is a normal course, right? Which is not that very high priced as compared to what is the alternative? Meat, which is a superior commodity. So that defines inferior in Giffen's study. But in income demand, what we saw as inferior is second grade, third grade, unbranded as inferior. Do you remember that? So look at this second or third, sort and poor variety. Here we are not talking about poor variety. We are talking of an item which is regularly used, normal course, and that cannot be replaced. That's a normal, every day I take it. So I see it as an inferior. Instead of normal, I am using the term inferior because it is not a delicacy. It is not a festival food. Every day I take it. But it has no substitute. Instead of a rice, can I take fruit salad every day? No, that is one time thing. Ice cream is a one time thing. So, Giffen's inferior good has the feature of being a staple, being a normal or a regular intake commodity, regular intake item or a commodity, and it also has no substitutes. This is how the inferior good in Giffen's analysis is defined, and potatoes with which he experimented satisfies all this condition because potato is a staple item of the Ireland people and it is a normal intake and it has no substitutes. Instead of potatoes, they cannot take anything. For them, that is like our rice and meat. Do you understand? If this experiment was done in India, it would be rice and wheat. In fact, in Britain, it would be done with what you call as dairy products, so milk products, wheat, bread, all those items, no confectionaries, all that. Any Swedish or Anglo-Saxon economies, no, for them, no milk products and all dairy products are main thing. Like they live bread and butter, literally speaking. So what is that? That is the staple food. That has no substitute. That is inferior because it is of a normal price and it is a regular intake. That is Giffen's inferior. But in income effect, what did we see? Quality is low. Poor quality. Second quality. In terms of quality, we saw it. Okay, I'll give another example for income demand. Second hand goods. I remember this question once. Second hand goods come under inferior commodity and the options were Giffen's inferior good. It is an example of income demand. Both A and B, none of the given. What is the option you would choose? See, look at this. Second hand goods. Okay. Second hand goods. Please note it. Second hand goods come under, look at the options, Giffen's inferior category of goods, Giffen's inferior category of goods. Second hand goods come under income demand analysis. They come under income demand analysis. Both A and B. None of the above. Are you sure? Think and tell what you choose as appropriate, because we have to do a little more on inferior goods. Only then you will register the definition of the term inferior in two different contexts. One is in the context of Giffen effect, the other is in the context of income demand. In two contexts it's being used. That is why I am repeatedly emphasizing this point. Yes, Darshini has got some answer. Yes. This side. Yes, let us know. D. Yes, you choose D. Can you say why? Yes, can you explain why you said none of the above? So that others will know. See, reasoning is very important. Understanding the concept with, the reason and rationale is very important. Okay? None of the above. It doesn't fit in any of these categories. Yes, Niranjan? I think probably you would have told in his ears and he has told. Always happens.
Income effect differs from income demand analysis.
Oh,
Right.
okay. We have not done income demand analysis so far. We have done. Others? Anybody? Aditya? Ritvik is trying to give some answer. What is it? May I know? Thinking. Is Manasa and others? Have you arrived at some answer? Harini? It's B. You stick on to B. Okay. What about Shweta and Akshaya? Thinking. Is Sailesh? Can tell the answer here. You are telling me to. He says. Yes. You are not saying anything. A. Can you tell why A? See, different answers are coming. No, I want to understand how your reasoning or thinking is. Is Ashweta, come on, how? 1 second. She has given the answer, but she will think and give the reason. Very good. I like this idea. Tick mark immediately, okay? And then think. Okay. Yes, Dinakar. What about C? Okay, what about C? You feel it applies to both. This is the example. Yes?
Income.
D. Ah. Yes, can you tell? Okay, they say both. Was sticking on. Yes, Harini, you told. Wait. Okay. All of them are following Shweta's strategy. We'll give the option and allow us to think. Good. Superior and inferior goods. Income demand consists of superior and inferior goods. Continue further. Explain. Very simple. Very good point. Yes. answer is given. The key reason was given by Harini. The answer is B. Very simple. In income demand, we saw something as superior and inferior. Okay. Second hand goods, it's not the first quality good. Very simple. It is not the first hand good. It's not the first quality. Look at the term there itself. Second hand means it is not first sort. It's not first quality. For income demand, please remember quality. That's what I was saying. Quality is less. The car which I buy on a first hand is 100% superior to the good I am going to buy in the second hand condition. Right? It's about quality. It's about a grade. It's about some sort we are discussing. So under income demand, the term inferior is used with respect to quality. So check whether the commodity given is having a hint on the quality grade or quality sort. See, it can be cloths, branded goods, premier varieties. In books, do you know that books have a popular edition and deluxe edition? They will give books when they give you as an example. Popular edition means what? Second hand, like local, second quality, not second hand. Even in the same first hand good, you can have popular varieties is what they sell, no, hawkers and peddlers, books they sell. The quality of the paper will be low. The ink which they use will be low. There will be like a smudge sort, etc. But the deluxe variety of the book will be same author but glossy variety. That would be 900 rupees. Of the same author, this would be 300 rupees. Because the paper and the ink which they use in quality terms is less, of a less variety as compared to the deluxe edition. Same author, same content, same number of pages. No difference in content, but the paper which was used, the ink which was used is different. Okay, so as far as income demand is concerned, the term inferior, we saw no inferior variety as against normal goods or superior, is talking about quality. In Giffen, it's not about quality. What are the features you have to look forward in Giffen analysis? Whether that has staple or not. Please look at that, substitute or not, substitute or not. And whether it comes under the staple item, mean. And it is a regular intake. So naturally it will be of a cheaper cost also. In terms of regular intake, it will not be a kind of a, superior items or delicious ones, or the special food will take. Generally they give you food example only. So that is the difference between the use of the term inferior good in Giffen's analysis as compared to income demand. So, pardon?
Scroll a bit
Up, okay.
in that under income effect or income demand analysis.
Income demand. What happened?
You have written income effect, income effect is different from income.
Okay, in income effect, no. Income effect also, it's we don't use at all that in income effect. Why does the demand come? Okay, income demand. So what we use under income demand? Okay. What you comes under income demand? It's understood here. In income demand, there is no this principle at all. No? Price only comes. It's understood. Okay. Because of that, you didn't choose this option. Don't tell me that. That is a very, very kindergarten kind of an answer. Please don't come with that. It would be like less than a kindergarten. Then I will call you as a Balwadi student. It's a kid. So don't use such things here in the class, okay, as a professional aspirant. But it's understood, no? It is under income demand where we use the terms superior variety, and we had two models also, graphical representation. Under income effect, what we were repeatedly trying to say is real income versus money income. That has no point here at all, isn't it? So here we are studying as the two different varieties which are studied under income demand, which are studied under Giffen also. Under Giffen, the term inferior has a quality of no substitutes. It is a cheaper one because regularly we are using it. It's not the price of a delicacy or something like that. And the third, which is supposed to be a staple. That is the context in which he did the experiment itself. We are having an empirical evidence. I gave you also no 19th century Ireland. He experimented with potatoes. The price of potatoes was raised and quantity demanded went up. Now I will explain to you further, telling you how this is coming into the picture. Okay, this commodity is coming into the picture. Sir Robert Giffen, concentrate on this. He made an experiment to say that there is an exception to the law of demand. So what did he do? He brought about a rise in the price of potatoes. At that time, the quantity demanded should have come down as per the law of demand. But it did not come down, it went up. This is seen as an exception to the law of demand. Now the questions which arise in your mind. Why did it go up instead of coming down? Because it's a staple. At any cost, I want to have this, right? At any cost, I have to have this potato because it is the staple food. So, can you be without rice and meat? I was asking, no, that is the staple. That is first point. Second point, where is the money to buy this, right? That is where the concept of meat comes into the picture. So please note this point. What is the question we are addressing now? How was it possible to buy potatoes when the price went up? Here, people had to economize on meat to buy potatoes. So what did the people do? They reduced the purchase of meat in order to give money or more money to buy potatoes, which is a staple food. Also understand that since they have compromised this food, they require more also to eat, right? So they had to buy more quantity of potatoes also. So people had to economize on meat to purchase potatoes at a higher price. Look at this. So please note how the diversion has happened. So you have potatoes, and remember here meat is taken as a superior good, as an example of delicacy, a festive food, a special item, right? A superior item. So what did people do when the price of potatoes went up? What did the people do? They diverted the money from meat to potatoes. So there was no decline in the quantity demanded of the potatoes when the price went up. So the features here are, it is a staple. Please remember the item chosen by Giffen, or even if any other experiment you want to read on Giffen, you will find that it will be a staple. It will not have any substitutes. And the other point is, yes, normal kind of a thing, or regular or routine, something like that. See, have these clue words in mind to understand what is defined as inferior goods as far as Giffen effect is concerned. Now I'll ask you one question. Normally, when the price, just think, price of a commodity goes up. Here it is potatoes. What is the expectation you would have going by law of demand? When the price of potatoes go up, as per the law of demand, normally what will happen? Quantity demanded will decline. So it did not happen. That is why the term paradox, somebody used the term paradox, no? It is also known as Giffen effect or Giffen paradox. I think we noted this term, water diamond paradox, when we studied value in use, value in exchange. Water has value in use, diamond has value in exchange. Okay, now what is a paradox? Something which happens contrary to the expectation. I expected this, but it did not happen. That is called as a paradox, paradoxically. Okay, so here what is the contrast which happened? The quantity demanded did not decline even when the price went up. That is the paradox here. So quantity demanded this is what you have to understand by paradox. So Giffen is the name of the economist who conducted an experiment, and with an empirical evidence he showed that there are possibilities of exceptions to the law of demand, for which what is the commodity rationale which is required? It should be a staple, it should not have any substitutes, it is a regular or a normal one. But as against a regular, since you have also a superior good, automatically this earns the name of inferior. It is not inferior sort, inferior grade, or some unbranded variety which we are talking about. It is not the quality. Just because there are special items, festival food, okay, delicacies, we bring this normal course as inferior one as compared to meat. Supposing here there was a dessert, there was an ice cream and rice. Naturally, that would be seen as a superior commodity, and this is normal one would be your inferior. In that context, here quality is not brought into picture. Okay, and this is and the commodity chosen for this given experiment should be something which is normal, which is purchasable by all the people. Okay, so that is the definition of the commodity chosen by Giffen, and the term Giffen now is seen as a synonym to inferior because he experimented and he proved a contrast to the fundamental law. The term Giffen is or we can keep it as identical. It is identical. Identical. So they are considered to be kind of synonyms or identical actually, and that is how you have to explain Giffen's paradox.
When wheat is only
Used to compare. And from where did you get money for potatoes? Price went up. Suddenly I cannot know how am I buying. They had to economize on meat and divert the resources to buy potatoes. And we are going to say that more potatoes are demanded. More it is demanded. So why is it I economized on something which was filling me? I was having meat which also filled me. Now I gave up that also. To replace that also I need more. That is also another context. So if you read that Giffen's paradox as a literature, you would find all these reasons why he wanted to bring this. But this analysis is with respect to only one. It is one commodity model because he is countering law of demand, which is one commodity model. So this is just to tell where from did the consumer devote or divert money to buy potatoes at a high price. It was from meat, which was seen as a delicacy, a special food, a superior. Okay, I'm not using the term variety, a good, superior good, inferior. So, to sum up Giffen's paradox. So, Giffen's paradox is an experiment to substantiate the fact that there could be exceptions to the law of demand, which is seen to be a fundamental one. This experiment was conducted by the expert Sir Robert Giffen, and that is why it is known as Giffen's paradox or Giffen effect. Basically, here he did this experiment, or several experiments on this, and one of the pioneering experiment is what he did in 19th century Ireland, where the commodity chosen was potato, and this commodity is a sample commodity of how a product should be selected to show the exemption to the law of demand. And the features are, it should be a staple, it should not have a substitute, it's a normal item. So when you say normal item, there is something which would be superior. Okay, and in this context, normal or staple is potatoes, and for the Ireland people, Irish people, meat was seen as a main superior item. So from there, they could use the resources to buy to buy potatoes at a high price, where Sir Robert Giffen did this experiment, raising the price of potatoes. And generally, as per the law of demand, a rise in the price would bring down the quantity. Here it did not. With the rise in the price of the commodity, with the rise in the price of the potatoes, there was no decline in the quantity demanded. This is defined as a paradox, and Giffen's paradox, right? And the other commodity is chosen literally to tell us the fact how practically it happened, where people who devoted money for superior items like meat, they diverted money from there to buy potatoes at a high price and also more quantity. In this case, we see this as an exception to the law of demand, and upward sloping demand curve happens here. So make here, no, here what will happen, the graph we saw here, look at the graph here. This is price of what? And here this is again potatoes. So meat is not coming here. We are showing only source from which money was diverted. Okay, and if this is normal good, what was that? Which was a special item that came there, right? So this is paradox. Have you all understood this much? Any kind of, and a lot of experiments with the bread, as I was telling you, wheat, whatever is seen as a staple is done. Okay. Shall we go on to the next one? Veblen effect. As again, this is the name of an expert economist, Thorstein Veblen. I will give you some important terms, okay? Repeated question in the examination. All these are the terms you have to be thorough with. The terms used to define Veblen effect. Take down these terms and I will explain to you these terms, right? Thorstein Veblen, conspicuous consumption, articles of ostentation, snob appeal, status symbol, or prestige value. Yes? Now, let me give you a summary of this experiment, and this is where this comes into picture. And I think I have also another one for you. Look at this. All these are articles of ostentation. Do you like that ring? Okay, girls may like this one and this also, and boys may like this. Isn't it butter? Yeah, everybody, I mean, for both for them, what is the use of this? Poor fellows, actually, I had these two, okay, and then I thought, okay, what these boys will have, and then I added this. Okay, let them also enjoy Veblen effect, and this was added. It's butter, you can see, no, it's a butter kind of a thing. Irish butter, look at this. Irish people, Anglo-Saxon countries, no, they will eat lot of dairy products. Their main thing, if you see Norway, Sweden, for them cakes and pastries is like what we have, no rice and meat, something like that, isn't it? They, yes, bakery products are their main thing. Bread, butter. Morning breakfast will be bread, butter, jam, and any spice items they can't have. If you give them also, it is very, very difficult. They like that very much. Okay. Yes. Now let me give you a small story of Veblen's effect. Remember, it is repeatedly asked in the examination. Story means not that you have to close your notebook and everything. I will put down the points after some time, but let me give you a glimpse. See, Thorsten Veblen, he conducted an experiment with what you call as superfluous goods. That is, these articles which Veblen chose, they do not have any intrinsic value. They are having only an appeal, external appeal. External appeal means what? Very beautiful. Supposing here there is one big flower vase, imagine life size. You go to villas and big mansions or bungalows, no, individual villas I'm saying, you will have a big bronze vase, life size as high as your size, with the height of your size. What is the use of it? Nothing will be, only the hard work you have to do is dust it every day. And they will have big wall hangings, huge one, all this, to make the villa pretty. So these have an external appeal, very beautiful. When you go, you are just dumbfounded, but they are of no value. Likewise, you go to a showcase, you have a showcase pieces. Do they have any value at all? Now, what you keep inside showcase, isn't it? Where all the collections you will have. You're not even going to touch any day, except weekly once you have to open and dust it. Isn't it? And there is a showcase pieces like glasswork pen costing 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakhs. It is like this only. In one of my friends' home where I visited, she showed me it's a beautiful glass work. Okay, this is the size of it. It is worth around 2 lakhs. It can't be, it's so frail. If you touch it, it'll get, I said, can we take it out? No. But it's supposed to be a pen. Then what is the use? Why do you call it a pen when you cannot use it? That is the status symbol. It has a small cylindrical thing where you can insert refill sort. So it is refill. You can use it, but when it's so expensive, no, they won't feel to take it out. Suppose you break it. It's made only of glass. So have you seen glass works and all? Pretty glass works, crystal, what you call, even for kitchen, you have crystal works, but you have to be when you serve ice cream bowls and all. But you cannot use it very casually for everyday thing, when some eminent guest or something comes, like that only. So what are we talking here about? There are certain articles which have status symbol which can be associated with the status symbol. There is no requirement. They are not even like your air conditioners or refrigerators or geysers or induction stove, which is of some use to you, which gives you some comfort. What is the point in having a big bronze flower vase? Nothing. No use at all. Literally, there's no use. Right? And showcase pieces. What is that? We are not going to even touch it. No? So, those are called as articles of ostentation. They command prestige value. They are associated with your status. So, you buy it. A consumer buys it because it is associated with their status. It is a prestige value to me. It is not of any intrinsic value, means what? Use. I can use it. I have a utility derived from it. You take a bread, you have an utility. What is the use of the bronze ware? No, but I pay price, huge price. So when Thorsten Veblen experimented, he chose these articles of ostentation. Okay, so with this small introduction, I'm going to explain to you this. Okay, this concept. These are the terms which are used in it. Okay. Articles of ostentation. Articles of ostentation are those which command no intrinsic value. Look at the point. No intrinsic value. No intrinsic value, but have an external appeal. Look at the terms I'm using. External appeal. These items have a prestige value. They have a prestige value, and so are demanded by the consumers as items displaying their status in the society. And look at the terms, all that I mean, whatever I underlined, what I gave is going to be underlined to you. Being status symbols at any cost, the consumers like to purchase them. Remember, these things have no intrinsic value. When you compare the class and the other one, what is attracting you? The other one. Yes, very good. But they have no intrinsic value. In the examination, they are not going to ask you from that. They are going to ask you from the session. See, now itself we are having external appeal, intrinsic value. The screen has an intrinsic value. that music has an external appeal. You're attracted, no? Yes, what is this? Please look at all these points. Very important actually. Don't miss this point. So, have you taken it down? Which point are you in? Still last. Okay, last point. Very good. Yes, sir. Adrina, can I help you? Anything is not clear or written? Okay. Now please understand Thorsten Veblen experiment. What is the empirical example? He experimented with snob goods. When you say snob goods, you can take any of these as an example. It could be any bronze flower vase or a diamond and platinum jewelry. All these, no, we can live without them. Why? Particularly when you take, this is a very appropriate example because no use at all, literally. Showcase pieces. How many of you have showcase in your home? Isn't it? You stock so many collections, no? That are you going to take it out and use it daily? No. Just for people to come and have a good look at it. Little collections, dolls may be there, whatever, right? Now, these are a showcase is a reflection of an income category. You know that every hut will not have a showcase because they have some minimum needs itself they are lacking. So villas and bungalows, they have a special kind of interiors for their home with the collection of these commodities. So articles of ostentation are those which are not having intrinsic value, means the good is not of any use to me, except it's giving a good appeal, external appeal, for show. That is one. Second, it should be associated with my status. A show off means what? We saw no the handbag. See, the bag we all use is also useful, but what the picture we saw here, look at how it is, some carving kind of a thing and gold strap and all. This is also a handbag, and every you and me is also having a handbag. So this is external appeal. No intrinsic value. Look at the small bag, it may be flimsy also. See now, gold nib pens have come, isn't it? And here the handle with the gold has come. So many things. Okay, so we find that there are certain commodities like your bronze flower vase and all, which have an external appeal only. So these are products which show off. I want to show off what? My status. So I see them as status symbol. The society respects me, keeping me in a particular status. What is that? High income category, a middle class category, upper income group. So as status symbols, these are demanded. Now when Thorsten Veblen experimented with these commodities, though the prices were high, when the prices were going up, demand did not come down, because I cannot live without them. I want to buy them, I want to have them. Whatever be the price, I will see when you people who are having platinum and diamond jewelry collections, no, they won't settle with one. When the model is changed, when the price is multiplied, still there will be a demand. In fact, a platinum market study showed that the handful of people only can buy it, but despite the price revision, they will buy. The demand will not come down. Why? I am a person who can afford platinum jewelry, that very creamy layer. See, gold is one step. Silver, gold, diamond, platinum. Platinum with the diamond. Big combo. Right? All those things. So those are the cases where Veblen stated that no, rise in price did not deter these people from purchasing that or demanding that. So that increase in price and decline in quantity did not happen. Why? They are status symbol. I can live even without my minimum needs. I cannot live without my pride. That happens, no? So we have to do that, and a sense of pride, a status symbol, and the amount you spend, no, on that showcase items, all these little things, how expensive it is. Instead, you can buy something of use to you. You remember people who have, so that's why I'm saying it is not only about diamond and platinum, but even about the showcase pieces. Just a small doll, they would say it is 20,000. But you're not even going to touch it. So you belong to a particular income category. So they are called as articles of ostentation. Please remember this, okay? And they have no intrinsic value. I'm not going to even touch it any day. They have an external appeal. They're very pretty. As soon as you enter such villas or apartments, you are really, fascinated. And it has a prestige value. It is your status symbol. It reflects your status. You are not poor class. It tells that. And being a status symbol, at any cost you are going to buy it. This is where the analysis begins. Analysis about the law of demand. At any cost, the consumer is interested in buying it. So the demand is not going to decline. Okay? And therefore, even at high price, they are going to buy it. And this is called as conspicuous consumption. Look at the term I have also given you. This synonyms for it: conspicuous, extravagant, pretentious, spectacular, flamboyant, theatrical, egoistic. All this implies show off, external appeal. Okay, that is the meaning. You can, in this context of Veblen, you can use all these terms. That is the point here. Okay, and we can very much be without it. Okay, all these I do not know, we have seen that villas almost equal to the price of the room the product will be. Something like that. Okay, so this is called as, and because it's a show of goods, you call it as snob. Have you heard of the term snob? Don't be snobbish. Means what? People will always tell about them. Some people, I do this, I eat this, I go here. Have you heard of them? Do you have your friends? Can you recollect any friends who will say that I have this, I do this, I can, immediately they will, yes, see. What is that your friend used to show off about?
Watches.
Watches. Very common example, no? I have latest one I've got. Anybody else? Any friend of yours you can recollect? Always will tell that, Yes. I have this, I got this, something prioritizing, no? That is snobbish. And we say, don't be snobbish, it's irritating, we'll say, no? Snob effect or snob appeal to show off, gorgeous things and other things, okay? So, all this. And in fact, Austin Veblen has written a work called as Doctrine of Conspicuous Consumption. Doctrine of Conspicuous Consumption. So where he has explained this. Now what will happen in case of these items? As the price goes up, quantity demanded will not decline. Will not decline as per the law of demand. So this is the exception to the law of demand. Therefore, it is seen as an exception to the law of demand. Let the price of platinum and diamond jewelry go up. Still, I will replace it with a new variety. I will buy the latest model. I will buy a latest collection of items for my showcase. So, all this implies exception to the law of demand. So, what is the empirical case here? When you have to show Veblen's effect, you have to experience, you have to experiment it with a superfluous product. Okay, and that is called as conspicuous consumption. I don't need, I am buying that for what? To show my status. As simple as that. Now I am going to ask you one question based on this. You have to think and answer this question. Get it? So there are certain articles which are termed as articles of ostentation, which are demanded not for their intrinsic appeal but for their external appeal. These have no value at all to the consumer, but just because it reflects their status, they want to show off their status in the society and they buy these articles which command a prestige value. And as the prices of this shoot up also, there will not be any decline in it, as you have practical evidence in case of a platinum or a diamond jewelry, which people don't hesitate to replace despite the rising price. So this is seen as an exception to the law of demand, according to which as the price go up, the demand should come down, which does not happen in case of articles of ostentation. And this has been collectively done with proof, and the findings have been presented in an important work published by Thorsten Veblen, and the name of that work is Doctrine of Conspicuous Consumption, which mentions about all this snob effect. It's known as Veblen effect. It is also known as snob effect. Right. Now, what is the question to you? To which I will frame it in different way. To which income class, this effect, this means what? Veblen effect appeals to. To which income category? I will give you the options. Rich class, Think. Are you in the habit of looking at recordings? Yes, you can enjoy today's class with the backdrop music. For all people with earphones. So now there is an external music as you. So one more motivation for you to take up recordings. Today is go home and immediately look. We'll have a music. See, he's enjoying the music, Ritvik. What is that? Ma? All of the above is one option. Good. We will see a couple of answers we will take and then we will declare the answer. A. This side. Who said rich class? Who said all of the above? Okay. Any other choosing middle class, poor class? So may I know, Kishore, why you chose all of the above? You remember what I called it as? Articles of status symbol. Okay, remember that clue word? Articles of status symbol, such. D. Why? They will be able to buy diamond, platinum.
They can buy one.
Complete a sentence.
Not
Exactly. The answer is D. See, everybody has their own status symbol. Butter was shown by because a poor class people probably daily they won't take butter and ghee. But it is a status symbol. Right? Maybe on festivals when guests come. For everybody, there is an item of status symbol that need not be platinum or gold for all. To my status, what is much above or what I see I can bring. Say middle class is having showcase. Rich class is having a bronze flower vase life size costing a lakh. Crystal box costing a lakh. For a poor man, a daily wage laborer, for whom butter is not affordable like that. But he shows his status by buying butter. You know, price of which is always high, isn't it? It's not like your other food items, butter or ghee. You can't just relate it to other grocery items which you buy. So every class is the correct answer. So every class has their own articles of ostentation and they will be having prestige value. They are of external appeal only, not any. You can be without them. You can comfortably, very well be without it. Yes, isn't it? So, did you get the answer for the question asked on Veblen effect? To which category it is appealing? All the above. Each of us have our own status symbol. It need not be platinum and diamond for everybody. Okay, so it is irrespective of the class, Veblen's effect is very much appealing. And it is a common example, right? So that is what is the second one. Third one is speculative effect. Third one is speculative effect. Thank you.